Hey y'all, welcome to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go podcast episode. I'm your girl, your host Taria. Listen, we get ready to get into season 7, episode 8, The Real Housewives of Miami, Dueling Yachts. I'm just gonna tell y'all right now, I am a woman who is God-fearing, who tries to look at people through the eyes of love. And on this episode, I had a really, really hard time. When I tell you I am sick of watching these ladies act like Gertie's feelings don't matter, act like text messages on a screen are worse than Julia throwing water on Gertie's face. I have had it, okay? Up to here. Outside of those scenes, the show is enjoyable, but I don't like watching this black woman, and I'm gonna say I'm black. I know people say it's not always about race. I'm a black woman and I go through life looking at things through the lens of a black woman based on my personal experiences. So just looking at it, the visual representation of this world, watching these women not even care about this black woman being assaulted. Now in the press, they are. They're more concerned because she shared text messages that prove that the girl that assaulted her with water is a liar. She was a liar. What? What? She was a liar. She was a liar. Isn't that the move they do? She was a liar. And I'm tired of it. Let's get into it because we start off the episode with them. That's why I'm pissed off. Julia and Martina. What's her name? Julia is upset about the text messages. I think Julia is high from that farm manure up underneath her nails. But anyway, she's upset about the text. She's mad that Adriana didn't follow her after the text gate, if you will. And she feels like Adriana resents the fact that Marisol and Alexia are her friends. So they show a flashback of Julia going to talk to Gertie, like asking her why after all of this and wanting to know what the point of all this was. And then Julia says that Gertie told her she had no, because Gertie made a comment about her not having class coming to the event in sneakers. And so Martina says, I have on sneakers and I wore them to the Royal Box. I said, wasn't that a sporting event? But maybe they don't allow sneakers because then Martina goes on to say, they said no sneakers, but they let her in. I said, so they okay with sneakers and Gertie's not. At this point, I ain't even met because whatever. You threw water on somebody, whatever. Martinez says people with cancers survived, and that's what they were supposed to be celebrating. And then she does this. But of course, we know Gertie has since come out and said that's not what the party was about at all. They just tried to frame it as such. So they can just be so horrified and so offended. Moving on, we go hang out with Stephanie and Larsa. So Stephanie's husband, Masood, built up, yeah, Stephanie's husband, Masood, built a house for his ex-wife, with his ex-wife. After they got divorced, Stephanie and Masood moved into a condo, but now he wants to move back into the home and they're gutting it. So as she's walking in, there are construction workers on the house, and she says, "Oh, can we get a few seconds?" And I said, as a worker, that would have irritated me. Y'all know they be on a tight line, a deadline, and now you want me to stop working so you can come film in here, lady? Get on out of here and let me finish this work. But she says that she is gutting the house, and she doesn't want any corner basically to resemble his past. So she moved the pool. Y'all, she has the pool in the yard moved. She said that them gutting this house and rebuilding cost just as much as getting another house. Here's my question. The house must not have had sentimental value for him being okay with her tearing it completely down, pretty much, gutting it and starting over. Right? To me, I would, if you don't care about somebody gutting, or does he just like the bones of the house and maybe she just didn't say that? Because why not just go buy another one unless he has some type of emotional attachment to that house, or if the land price is good or whatever? Like, what's the reason that they didn't just go buy a house but instead chose to do this? Again, was it because of the value of the land? Was it because, like, what was the reason? I need to make it make sense for me. So she also said she wants to have a wine cellar, a makeup room, and she wants the staff to use their own entrance so they don't have to use hers. I'm gonna be honest. For me, that felt kind of like you want your staff to use what? So like go through the back door, go through the side door. That's just me. I just was kind of like, okay. So she said she's gonna have a party and invite all the girls, but anybody that brings bad juju, they're gonna be escorted out. Of course, which then leads into the conversation of Gertie's party. Stephanie says she has a lot of opinions and stuff to get off her chest. So Larsa was like, "Yo, I thought you got it off your chest with Alexia." Stephanie said, "Does Alexia talk to everybody like that?" And so Larsa's trying to explain to her, well, she thinks that you're always bringing up Todd. So Stephanie says, I'm basically was looking out for her. I told her when God takes out the trash, leave it out. I'm looking out for her. I see what she's saying at the same time. It ain't none of your business. It's not. It isn't. I said on the live I did with Kempire and Brooke today, the Brooke Ashley, make sure you go check it out on Kempire's channel and watch the replay. I said, while it's annoying, I also want somebody to stay on Alexia's neck, and Stephanie just might be the person to do it. But this constantly bringing up Todd thing is annoying. It's like, okay, girl, we get it. So she says Alexia just keeps putting her down. And then Stephanie said, I've yet to go to one good event with y'all, literally. So Larsa's like, no, the boat is going to be good. We're going to have such a good time on the boat. So before Gertie's event, Larsa and Kiki planned an overnight boat stay for the ladies. They only booked one yacht. After the event, they ended up getting two boats. So on one boat, so then they show Lisa and not Lisa, what's her name? Larsa and Kiki saying who they were going to have on their boats. So on Kiki's boat, it's supposed to be Larsa, Gertie, Marisol, and Adriana. And then on Larsa's boat, it was going to be Alexia, Stephanie, and Julia. Am I missing anybody? They call Marisol, and Marisol's like, nope, I don't like it because I didn't enjoy being around Adriana. I don't want to be around her overnight. She might try to come in and murder me. So they laugh. So I was confused because I thought for the last couple episodes, Marisol and Adriana were good, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they weren't good. But I promise you, I could have swore that they were good, but I guess not. So watching them say, I don't want this person on the boat, I want that person on the boat. I was like, oh. But anyway, they ended up putting Marisol back on Lars's boat. So we're with Alexia and her sons, Frankie and that other one. I saw that other one. Frankie and her rent a home, and I believe she said the Venetian Islands month. Is that what she said, y'all? She did it month to month because she doesn't know where she's going to be. Yeah, because Todd just up and left you in like a in the confessional, the producer says to Alexia, you and her other son, I'm going to say it, Peter, seem to avoid talking about Todd. Why? And she said, we do avoid talking about it because her kids have gone through so much with her. Her pain is their pain. And it's just easier to not talk about Todd. So we find out that Frankie has been sick. He was throwing up uncontrollably. They took him to the hospital and he was diagnosed with diverticulitis, which I heard was like really painful. So I hope that he's doing okay. Hope that he's doing good. It's controlled by diet also, though. They talk about Peter's past with Frankie's accident, how that threw him out of whack. But I guess he's supposedly getting on the straight and narrow. I'll never forget when he tweeted about the Little Mermaid basically not being black, like should be white, when Halle Bailey was it came out. Gertie and Dr. Nicole. I said, look at my boots together. I love me some Dr. Nicole. I really miss her on the show. So she walks in looking all good. They show pictures of her baby, and she's just so gorgeous. She was a preemie, I believe, and now she just looks like she's flourishing. And she does look like Dr. Nicole's dad. Isn't it crazy how genetic works sometimes? So Dr. Nicole was excited to meet Stephanie. Gertie was like, well, we speak often. And she called her on FaceTime and introduced them, which made me wonder if Stephanie is going to end up saying something to Julia or getting into it with Julia about the water throw or something else. Even though on Watch What Happens Live, she said she wanted Gertie to get past it, but is she still going to have something with Julia? Because, Julia's good friends with Alexia now, and Stephanie and Alexia clearly are going to keep going rounds. So Stephanie said that Dr. Nicole was fabulous and she dated Anthony, which is Dr. Nicole's fiance, over 20 years ago. When she met him, she knew he was going places. She said Dr. Nicole initially thought that Stephanie wouldn't get along with Alexia because what are they called, y'all? Two alphas going at it. Then she talks about um, they talk about the event, what happened at Gertie's event, the text messages, Stephanie wanting to hear both sides, and the ladies giving Stephanie a hard time because she wanted to hear both sides, which is what you should do. Dr. Nicole talked about blind alliances, which is true. Like they're just so blind. They're like horses with blinders on. They're so blinded by their alliances. And she said, "Me and you are good friends. I would tell you if I thought you were right, I thought you were wrong." Just like when you mentioned Julia's facelift, I was like, "Oh, that was tough," because we're honest with each other. And they start talking about Julia, and Dr. Nicole says, "I don't know where it all went wrong." Dr. Nicole, Julia, and Gertie were such good friends. The day after Gertie's surgery, they picked up smoothies and they went and sat beside Gertie's bed, Julia and Nicole. So what happened? She said, "I feel like been a big shift in Julia. I don't even see her hanging out with Adriana anymore. It's like she feels like she's with the cool girls now. You know, the elementary schooler that went to elementary school. Some people made friends with her, so she wasn't alone. Then the cool girls like noticed her, you know." And she said, so Gertie's like, "What will it take for you to join our group?" And she said, what would it take for you to join our group again? She said, "To be determined." I said, okay. So it's now yacht day. I keep wanting to scream, "We got the yacht." That was Luann saying that, right? Or who said that for, it was for Luann's engagement party, right? They got the yacht, child. Never forget. Anyway, I'm sorry. I clicked off my notes for a second. So the ladies arrive, and Lisa brings her friend Ebony, a beautiful black woman. Alexia said she would rather not be on the same boat as Stephanie. Stephanie comes on, but Stephanie's not staying, honey. She's going on an overnight trip to Canada with her husband. Her husband sent her flowers with a note for them to have a couple's getaway. So they're in Miami. He says, "Let's have a getaway." So they're going to Canada for one night. Alexia is definitely happy about that. Kiki tells her crew that her and Larsa were arguing when they were splitting the yacht up. And then she told Adriana that Marisol didn't want to be on the boat with her. Child, you already knew what you were doing, Kiki, when you told her that. You knew exactly where that was going to go. So Adriana said, "Man, I thought we were good." And that's what I thought. I thought they were having like Kiki moments. Unless I'm misremembering, I thought this season so far, they may have done like little digs, but like towards each other, but not bad, like where they were even laughing. Back on the other boat, Marisol says, "I don't want to be on a boat with Adriana." Do you think it's because Adriana decided to stay with Gertie and find out what was going on? We find out later Julia's upset with Adriana. So I wonder if that's where all that energy came from. I know in the past they haven't gotten along. Adriana wrote a letter to Marisol's liver. I get that. But again, I thought that they were okay this season. So now is that energy coming from that? I wonder. So Marisol says she doesn't want to be on the boat with Adriana. She doesn't want to have to look at her face with the digs and the comments. Julia says, "I understand Marisol because if I was put on Kiki's boat with Gertie, I would have said, 'I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to do it.'" They all talk about just how horrific text messages that prove that Julia is a liar. She was a liar. Are. It's just so horrific. So Gertie is coming to dinner later. Julia says she's not looking forward to joining the dinner with Gertie. Y'all, the way that this Karen is Karening right now, like she's the victim. I just, I know I keep saying it, y'all, but I'm just trying picture it. Picture it. Miami, 2024. R.I.P. Sophia Getty. Was that her name? Estelle Getty. Estelle Getty. Child Sophia was on the show. Picture it, Sicily, 1952. This woman, this argument comes from out of nowhere, and you're confused. Which, by the way, Gertie was on Nick Vile, the Vile Files, whatever podcast, saying that the cruise was on 2023, and Julia brought it up out of nowhere. That's why she's confused throughout. Like we see her looking confused. You bring it up. You say we were never friends, weren't friends. I say what a friend have told me about, basically I knew you were getting a facelift when your wife was having chemo treatments. And y'all, not only did she throw the water at her once, she was throwing it at her. And then you lie about basically Gertie volunteered herself to go on this cruise with me. And then she was acting entitled, only to find out that was not the truth. You asked her to go, and that's what was shown in those text messages. And now you want to sit up here and play the Karen, and all the ladies around you are letting you play into it. It's maddening to watch. That's what it is. It's maddening. So, give me 1 second. The boats pull up next to each other, and Adriana is telling Kiki that Marisol is the ringleader with her dry knees. In her confessional, Kiki says maybe it was a bad idea to tell Adriana that, Marisol didn't want to be on the yacht with her. Yeah, Kiki, you think you know what you were doing. Adriana said that a woman, so she talks about Marisol's ring and says it's a cubic zirconia, and that cubic zirconia will not absolve Marisol from her evil mess of her soul. I said, Adriana. And it's like the drunk, you could tell the drunker she gets, right? You could tell. So next up, Larsa asked Stephanie and Alexia, were they cool? Alexia said, we've always been cool. I just don't like when you said, I just don't like what you said that I bark. Stephanie said, you do. Alexia said, you do too. And you're like a Chihuahua and I'm a Rottweiler. The people like Alexia, again, she reminds me of Teresa. It's like, you don't run, like somebody needs to let you know, you ain't get ready to run me just because you think you run all the, I'm not scared of you because you're doing all this big talk. Kiki comes up then. Kiki comes upstairs looking fabulous in her black and white bikini with the hair, everything. Adriana comes up. So mind you, their boats are side by side. So they're just talking to each other, right? Adriana says, Stephanie, you're on the wrong boat. Marisol and Adriana go back and forth trading barbs. Did Adriana call Marisol an old whore? I could have swore my caption, because you know how they'll play the captions by themselves sometimes. I could have swore she called Marisol an old whore. Is that what she called her? Y'all need to let me know in the comments. Julia says, I don't know what got into Adriana. She's not a fun drunk like Marisol. Because of shut up, Taria. Adriana is saying they lured my best friend in there because she's trying to be like the cool girls. One day she'll realize they're not the cool girls. Then I think she said they're the mean cougars. Did she say they're the mean cougars? Or did she say mean cool girls? I didn't bother to rewind, but I could have swore she said they were the mean cougars. Adriana starts yelling about Marisol's wrinkled knees. Stephanie then leaves. I really liked her outfit. She looked cute. How long was she there? I know we only get a tidbit, a snippet in time based on how long they filmed, but I wonder if was she genuinely only there for like a half hour and just made sure she got her filming in, or what was going on? Like what time? I want to know what time she really left, or were they filming for hours and then she left? So the jet skis come out in her confession. So we see Larsa walk down in her bathing suit. In her confessional, Marisol talks about how hot Larsa's butt is. It's perfection. It's juicy. I said, wasn't there season one, this iteration of it, season one? Oh no, that technically would be like their season four, right? Either way, weren't they talking about Larsa's behind? And not in a good way? Okay. Kiki's boat has water guns. All the girls, um, minus Gertie, because she's not there yet, have water guns, and they sneak onto the other boat, and I forget what the names they said, like double agent names, whatever. You got Lisa Knockstein. I thought that was cute. Sasha Succulent. I thought that was cute. And then the producer said, to Adriana, have you heard of like Pussy Galore? And she was like, oh, but I thought the names were cute. They start tearing the other ladies up with those guns. Larsa starts throwing water from her glass. She don't like being sprayed. And Julia didn't like it either. Girl, you're in a bathing suit on a yacht in water and you don't like being sprayed with a water gun. Sort of like y'all being out to dinner at a wedding celebration with your makeup on and your pretty clothes and you throwing water in Gertie's face because you don't like what she said. That's what I mean. The hypocrisy is astounding. Julia and Adriana end up going somewhere off together. They're sitting apart. And Adriana says, why are we so far apart? Gert, Julia says, good question. Why the other night at the event did you not go back with me, but you stayed with Gertie? Adriana said, because I needed to find out what was going on. I didn't come down. I needed, I wanted to try to bring some sense of something, some sense between you and Gertie. So Julia says, Gertie has to do it herself. I'm at the point where I can't. Oh, I'm sorry. That was my note. My note says, Julia says she has to do it herself. I don't know what I'm talking about. Then it says, I'm at the point where I can't stand to hear Julia talk. Child, that's in my notes. In her confessional, Adriana said, Julia started it when the water thing happened. I'm glad you're saying that in the confessional, but I wish she had said it there. But because I had tweeted, I told y'all, if y'all don't say it in during the time to Julia's face, I don't want to hear it. But she said, Julia started it when the water thing happened. To me, putting the receipts on the wall is more benign and throwing a glass of water in somebody's face. But God forbid Julia gets called out about anything. Exactly. They're all at dinner. Gertie has arrived. Kiki handpicked every single dish so the ladies could get a little taste of Haiti. In her confessional, Julia says, Gertie's here. Oh, I'm so happy. I just, the way people think Gertie's dragging it, the way she's dragging it, you're in your, like, you really think that you're, like, I guess I would like to think that she knows she's wrong, but maybe she's trying to win the audience and the ladies because you can't really think that you're right and all. You can't. In her confessional, Lisa said, this is silly. Everybody needs to lighten up. So she says, guys, I think we should do a little exercise. And I knew it was coming. We should go around and say positive things that we like about each girl. Adriana says she likes Marisol's fashion sense and that she's loyal to Alexia like nobody's business. That was like shade, but like wrapped in a comment, right? Marisol tries and tries to come up with something nice to say about Alexia. So she said, it's really cool that you play the piano. I wish I could play the piano. So the ladies are like, oh, that's so nice. Lisa then said, Gertie and Julia. Gertie said, and this is the maturity, and just this says the type of person, distinguishes the type of person Gertie and Julia is. Gertie says, Julia, you have a compassionate side, and it shows in everything you do from raising children to making them your own. Like, that was really beautiful. Julia says, you know how to throw a fabulous party. I also appreciate how you share your emotions without any. And then she's like, because I can't hide my emotions. I said, where is this going? Because it's supposed to be about something nice about Gertie. She said, so they kind of are going back and forth, some talking at the table. And basically, they decide that they're going to have a talk so they can move forward. Julia, you brought it up. Oh, so Julia says, we need to have a conversation to move forward. But I said, Julia, you brought it up. Gertie said, I thought we did move forward, but then you brought it up at the narcissist party, which is true. They show a flashback. Julia is saying, if the girls ask me, I'm not going to say anything, only for you to turn around and want to be a victim at the party. I forget why Julia, she said she brought it, why Julia said she brought it up. I don't care. You told her when y'all met up at the dinner that you weren't going to say anything to the girls, only for you to turn around and bring it up to the guy. Alexia said, can I ask you a question? Why did you do that at your event? No one thinks it's okay. I just look around. What is it? Everybody on mute. Everybody was on mute again. So I was shout out to Gertie, who said, I'm not here to take accountability about who thinks what. I said, come on, Gertie. You telling me nobody agrees, you think that's going to make me feel a certain type of way, and I'm going to go ahead and bow down. Nah, I'm not here to take accountability on it. I don't care how y'all feel. I did it. And what? Like, I was so proud of Gertie for standing on business. Like, uh-huh. What's up next? And then Gertie said directly to Alexia, how is it affecting your life? Is my question. Alexia got that dumb look. Her and Teresa have the same look. For those of you who are listening, go to We Go Podcast, WEIGO Podcast on YouTube, and you can see the facials. Alexia couldn't answer that because it doesn't affect her life at all. So Marisol says something and Gertie's like, come on, I know you're friends with Julia, but like, did you actually read the text messages? Like, basically, did y'all even see how I vindicated myself? They all say no. In their confessionals, nope, none of them read it. Gertie said, that's my point. In the confessional, Kiki says she hasn't read it. Larsa says she hasn't read them. Then they all talking about Gertie. Julia says something like, there's a lot of feelings. We're just going to need to give it time. Girl, get out of here. So it's the next day. Adriana says she doesn't feel so proud of her drunken escapades. She's hoping for a better outcome that day. Larsa, Alexia, and Marisol FaceTime Stephanie. She's coming back in a few hours. So Stephanie says, how was last night? They say it was good. Where was the Rockweiler? Did she bark? Child, Lisa turned that phone to Alexia. Alexia said, F you, Stephanie. Child, they go back and forth. Stephanie's like, what? What? She said it. She calls herself a Rockweiler. I said, Stephanie, you know exactly what you do. I'm saying Rockweiler. Rottweiler. Stephanie know what she doing. So Alexia says, look, isn't she happy? In Montreal, you're in Montreal with your man, your jet, your perfect husband, your perfect life. Why are you so mean? So she says that meaning if her life is so good, why is she mean? Because if her life wasn't really good, she'd be mean. So then does that say why you're a mean girl sometimes, Alexia? Then the episode goes off and we have next week to look forward to. In spite of outside of the Gertie and Julia of it all, I'm enjoying it, but I can't stand because it's not just between Gertie and Julia. All the ladies are clearly Team Julia, and I can't stand. I cannot wrap my brain around people not seeing how egregious. Hey, Portia, how egregious what Julia did to Gertie, and that's why I just keep going back to it. Keep going back to it. Every time I think of Gertie with that water on her, looking beautiful, looking like a goddess, I just keep going back to it. And I say again, they want Gertie to tone down her ways and who she is, but none of them have to do that. They still get to be Rottweilers and all that stuff. I'm done with it. Gertie, keep standing 10 toes down, even if you standing by yourself, because Kiki is awfully quiet. And I guess we'll see what happens next week. Y'all let me know. Did y'all enjoy the episode? Are y'all able to kind of look past the Julia and Gertie thing? Are y'all ready to move on from the Julia and Gertie thing? Or do you not want to move on until Julia takes accountability? Again, now outside in interviews, they're all now all of a sudden trying to support Gertie. But now, too little, too late. You didn't do it in the episode. But y'all let me know what y'all think, and I will talk to y'all later. I love y'all. Happy Friday. See ya.